Hi, and welcome to a video on solving simultaneous equations by substitution. Before I get started, the two methods to solve simultaneous equations. You have substitution and elimination. Elimination is typically the most straightforward, but it only works if we have linear equations, as in no quadratic terms. So this video is a good video to watch before we learn how to watch quadratic simultaneous equations. Okay, let's get started. So, eventually we'll get into learning how to do this kind of problem, but before we do that, we need to know the method of solving equations by substitution. I'm going to go through 4 examples to get a proper handle of how it works. Each one's going to get steadily harder. This one is almost too easy, but let's go through it anyway. We're always at the same kind of steps. What you want to do is you want to substitute this value into my other equation. So we know y equals 4, so we're going to plug it in my equation 2. So I've now got 2x, I've got 3 lots of 4, which gives me 12, equals 20. So I've substituted y equals 4 into this equation to give me a new equation, and this equation is only in terms of x. That's really handy because it means we can solve it. So let's do that now. Solving equations is really straightforward. X is on one side, numbers on the other. So I get rid of plus 12, opposite of plus 12 is minus 12. So 2x equals 8, which means x equals 4. We can now use the first equation to find y. We don't need to here because we're just already told that y is 4. And that is my solution to this equation. Okay, that was a super easy example. Let's go through a few harder ones. So here, we don't know what x is this time. We know x equals 2y. We're going to follow the same steps. This time, because x equals something and x is by itself, I'm going to replace x in equation 2. So I'm going to replace x with 2y. So I've got a new line which is 2y plus 3y equals 30. That's my new equation. And similar to last time, this is only in terms of y, which means we can solve it. So let's solve it. Next step, anything together on the left hand side, you basically want to group together. So I've got 2y plus 3y, because they're on the same side, they merge together to give us 5y. So 5y equals 30. Solving that, y equals 6, because 5 times 6 is 30. Now step 3, I need to go back to equation 1, back to this equation here to find x. X equals 2 lots of y, so that means x is going to equal 2 lots of 6, which is 12. Again, that's my solution. And as always, don't forget to always find a solution for x and for y. It's quite easy to sort of forget to the last little step. Okay, on to something slightly harder. So this time we don't have x or y equals something, which means my first step, I'm going to have to rewrite or rearrange that equation. Okay, not sure how rearranging works. I'll try and link to the video of it somewhere. But basically, it's the same idea as solving an equation. I want to get x by itself. So I want to get rid of minus y. The opposite of minus y is plus y. So here x equals y plus 3. Or you could have 3 plus y. But as a rule of thumb, you just want your letters first. Just make maths a bit easier later on. So we know x equals y plus 3. I can now go to my second equation. And I want to replace x with what I know it to be. Here I've got 2x, which means I want to double all this stuff here. So to do that we use brackets. So 2 lots of x is the same as 2 lots of y plus 3 plus y equals 18. We now want to solve that. So first step, I need to expand this bracket. So I double y, which gives me 2y, and I double 3, which gives me 6. Then, just as before I can solve this, I want to group these terms together. I've got 2y plus y. They're going to join together to give me 3y. So 3y plus 6 equals 18. Then we solve this as normal. Get rid of plus 6 by taking away 6 from here, which means 3y equals 12, and therefore y equals 4. So we're halfway there, we've worked out y. Now we need to go back to equation 1 to work out x. So you can use this, or you can use this. I'm just going to use equation 1 just so I'm being more consistent. So we know x take away y equals 3. And now I've also worked out that y is 4. So that means x take away 4 is 3. We then get rid of the minus 4 by adding on to 3, which gives us x equals 7. And we're done. We found x and we found y, so we are finished. Just one more. Here's some examples to try. So we haven't included the steps this time, so I'm going to go through the logic behind each thing. Sometimes it's nice to number your equations, but that's purely up to you. That sometimes helps me keep me sort of in track of what I'm doing. Main thing you want to look for your first step is you want to look for a case when you've either only got one x or one y. Okay? In this case, we have that in equation 2. So I can rewrite equation 2, and I want x by itself. I want x equals something. Okay? I want to get rid of plus 3y. The opposite of plus 3y is minus 3y. So that means x will equal minus 3y plus 7. Again, I could also write 7 minus 3y, but I normally like having the y's at the front, just to make it look a bit nicer sometimes. Moving on, I'm going to plug that into equation 1. So for equation 1, I used to have 2x, so now I'm going to have two lots of what x equals here. So I've got two lots of minus 3y plus 7 plus 7y equals 15. Again, this stuff's not going to change because I don't know what these things equal yet. I only replace one letter. Next, I've got to solve this. So I need to expand my brackets first. If I double minus 3y, that gives me minus 6y. If I double 7, that gives me 14. The rest is unchanged. Now I've got a bunch of stuff here. I want to group it all together. So minus 6y plus 7y is just y or 1y. So now I've got y plus 14 equals 15. Really easy. That means y equals 1. So we're done here. Now all I need to do is work out my x value. Again, I could take this highlighted equation here and do it. It's actually slightly easier to take your rearranged form, although it really doesn't matter, you'll always get the same answer. So doing that now, we know that x equals minus 3y plus 7. However, we know that y equals 1. So minus 3 lots of 1 is just minus 3. Plugging that in, that gives me x equals 4. We found both x and y, so we're done. Okay, so with these questions, make sure you follow the steps, and if you're not given any guidance, we'll look for a letter where you've only got one of that quantity, either 1x or 1y. Just makes your life a lot easier. Okay, you have some questions to try. There are quite a few, so feel free to pause and give it a go. For the first few questions, I've given you the basic steps, just to get a swing of how this works, because it can be quite a hard concept to get your head around. Again, you should be pause these, give them a try. Okay, and again, for the harder questions, I'm leaving you to work out the steps for yourself, which is what you kind of expected to do. Okay, I'll just go through the answers for the questions in black. And again, if you want to check what you're doing, I will also include all my steps. So for question 1, there are my steps. X equals 7, y equals 10. For question 3, same thing. I got y equals 10 and x equals 24. Again, you can get fairly large numbers here, that's quite common. Question 5, that's what I've done. X equals 3 and y equals 10. And that is it. Okay, hope that made sense to you. Really key skill, so again, do practice it. Otherwise, good luck.